that video. Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. To everyone joining us virtually online, a great big hello from here at Bayview Yards. I'm Sonia Shorey. I have the privilege of serving as the Vice President, Strategy, Marketing, and Communications here at Invest Ottawa, lead economic development agency here in the capital. We have folks from right across the country joining this event because of all the incredible partners and promotion that so many undertook with us. So a great big welcome to everyone who's joining us for the first time. It's a pleasure to welcome you to our Women Leaders of Mainstreet event, hosted with our friends and partners at the Ottawa Coalition of BIAs, known as OCOBIA, the Ottawa Board of Trade, and in partnership with PARO. For eligible founders and business owners, this includes application support for our Downtown Ottawa Business Relief Fund, supported by the Government of Canada through FedDev Ontario and the Government of Ontario. We extend sincere thanks to all of these funders for their unwavering support of our business community during these unprecedented times. Our hybrid style event today is made possible by our government investors and our event platform, Hoppin'. We're thrilled to have many Women Mainstreet business owners, employees, and leaders registered for this event, and more than 35 mentors who are going to be sharing their time, their expertise, and experience with our participants here at our Innovation Hub and online. Before we launch our special program, it is my great pleasure to introduce Rita Alma, our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategist at Invest Ottawa, who will deliver a beautiful land acknowledgement. Welcome, Rita.
Thanks, Sonia. Can you hear me okay? Okay. As we're coming together today for the purpose of building and supporting women's leadership and entrepreneurship, it's important to approach this project with meaning and intention. And this is why I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge our work and the organization's presence on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. Unceded means that these lands, which we now call Ottawa, were never signed away by the Anishinaabe people who inhabited them before Europeans settled in North America. In other words, this land was stolen. I'm raising this as part of a personal commitment to truth and reconciliation, knowing that the first step is to admit the truth and that Indigenous leaders have been calling on non-Indigenous voices to help do so. The truth also means acknowledging the ways in which colonization and its effects are gendered, as evidenced by the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women in our country, for example. Second, we acknowledge that the Algonquin Anishinaabe people are still here. Part of the intentions and effects of colonization are to erase the existence of Indigenous peoples, and we do this land acknowledgement to counter that force of erasure. And lastly, I'd like to call attention to another of colonization's effects: the intentional separation and marginalization of Indigenous people, which has meant that most settlers have little to no connections to Indigenous communities and knowledges. Being systematically separated from a whole group of people and a critical body of knowledge, especially in the time of climate emergency, is and continues to be a huge loss and poses a growing risk to our collective future as humans. I'd love to ask us now to take a moment to scan your personal and professional circles. Ask yourself, who's missing? And how can I build meaningful connections with Indigenous people close to me and just take one action in the next week to reverse the damage and separation that colonization has caused? Let's take a moment of silence to reflect here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rita. We appreciate everything you have done to help us in our community on our DE&I journey, and you're making a tremendous impact on our team, our organization, and our region. We also want to express our firm support and solidarity with the people of Ukraine. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, and we stand together with you. We want to send out a message to global peace for all of those who are impacted by strife, including those in Russia who are fighting for justice. We are so honored today to come together as a community during these unprecedented times with great partners and so many champions for entrepreneurship and for women, as well as Main Street business. And certainly that includes our friends at OCOBIA and OBOT, to whom we are hosting this International Women's Week event in partnership with, together with PARO Women's Center for Enterprise. It really builds on the vision and mission of our entrepreneurship services team and our small business enterprise center led by Paula Hopkins, who joins us today as a mentor, and our cooperation as a region with OCOBIA and OBOT and all the BIAs through programs such as Digital Mainstreet. Today, we have 3 goals: to provide women's Main Street business leaders from every walk of life with customized, actionable insight and recommendations that you can put to work during these times; to inspire, connect, and equip women founders, owners, and employees with access to resources and relevant on-the-spot mentorship at no cost. This is also providing eligible business owners here in the downtown core with the application support they require for the Downtown Ottawa Business Relief Fund, and to leverage and harness the power of our collective expertise, funding opportunities, resources, and programs to help Main Street women leaders invest more in themselves, build confidence and resilience, and find caring community. And that is one of the biggest drivers of today's event. We wanted to bring women founders together so that they could support each other, because we know how powerful that is. And we're really excited to welcome all of you today. As we officially launch today's event, it's my great pleasure to do a big shout out to my good friend Michelle Grew, who is unable to join us in a speaking capacity today, but she is a firm champion and supporter. And we do have Judy from the Westboro BIA with us today. So thank you very much for joining us. And now I'd love to introduce Su-Ling Ching, who is President and CEO of the Ottawa Board of Trade. Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. Hello, how are you?
We're well, we're gathering here. Lots of people joining us virtually. We appreciate the prudence of those who let us know they would be switching from in-person to virtual, given some COVID exposure and potential risk. So we thank you all for keeping our community healthy and safe. You've been championing that too, Su-Ling. So
for sure. We're living with COVID, but that means that we make the right decisions at the right time. But having said that, we're very lucky to have this kind of technology and the resources and innovation that you are demonstrating here today. So I just wanted to take a moment to thank you, Sonia, and the team at Invest Ottawa for designing today's event, and our partners with OCOBIA, and just to express our appreciation for the work that you've done with the funding for our downtown businesses, how quickly and reliantly you have put that forward. So I just wanted to say hello to everyone today, to congratulate everyone who's tuning in virtually or who is there in person, either as a mentor or as a mentee, to take the time to learn and to share and be inspired. And it's my hope that everyone leaves today with new connections and valuable information and an idea or two that energizes you in striving to reach your full potential. Because everyone there today and virtually, we need you. We need your business and your work to thrive. You are the creators of our culture, our economy, and our future. And it's my honor to be here today representing the Ottawa Board of Trade. So we are the voice of business and an economic growth stakeholder and advocate with the mission to cultivate a thriving world-class business community here in Ottawa, the nation's capital. But I know we have people joining us from all across the country, so I hope you're all engaged with your local Board of Trade or Chamber of Commerce. Because if ever there was a time in our long tradition of advocacy that we need a very strong voice for community prosperity and business success, that time is now. Because being able to collaborate with our decision makers at every level of government is critically important, as it has been, particularly over these last couple of years, which have been so challenging for everyone in different ways, but in particular disproportionately impacting, of course, women, and intensifying inequality and making it really challenging for certain groups of women, for sure, and also excessively impacting small local Main Street and tourism reliant businesses. So we've been proud to work with our local partners, with Invest Ottawa, the City of Ottawa, Ottawa Tourism, and OCOBIA to advocate for policies and programs to support business and cultivate a globally competitive environment and set a clear path for healthy, inclusive, and sustainable growth. And we'll continue to seek out the most impactful ways to support all of your businesses with access to resources, promoting your business and employee growth, and influencing decision makers so that we can restore confidence, embrace innovation, and demonstrate true leadership together. So I wish everyone a great day today, and I wish you a productive and valuable time together. And I look forward to hearing the conversations.
Thank you so much, Su-Ling. There is so much incredible collaboration in our community. A little known fact, Su-Ling, Paula, and I are all from Brockville. And so there's tremendous participation from some of the outlying areas, as well as here in the capital and other big centers and small centers across the country. So it's a great mix today. Thank you for your leadership, Michelle. Thank you for being a champion. We are privileged and honored to collaborate with you both and look forward to doing so much more together in the days ahead as we come out of this pandemic.
Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you. Before we begin, I wanted to provide a little snapshot of our agenda. We have an incredible day lined up for you. We're going to open up with an incredible keynote from my friend Sarah Roach Lewis, who's joining us from PEI. More on that shortly. We have a Main Street Women Business Owner panel that will follow. And then we are going to take a short break and move into 3 round robin runs of mentorship for about 40 minutes each. After that break, we'll give you a little bit more detail on how you select a table, particularly if you're online, and many of you did move online. So we've got excellent instruction from our event manager, Samantha, to get you all hooked up with the mentors that you're looking for. Get your questions ready because we've got some incredible expertise to share. We are going to wrap up today at 4:30 p.m. And a few housekeeping items just for those in particular who are here on site with us. We know that the mandate for masking has lifted. We, of course, encourage everyone to continue masking as you feel comfortable. Our whole goal is to help keep our community healthy and safe. We've done distancing here in the room with our tables and chairs, and we thank you all for wearing those masks if you're comfortable, just to make sure we keep everyone safe. For those that are joining us online, of course, we have our event manager, Samantha, who is managing Hop-In with our team. If you have any questions or concerns, you can pop them into the chat. We have restrooms just located to my left and behind the stage down the stairs for those that are here. And we thank you for putting your phone on silent in advance. We want to create the best possible experience as we can for everyone who's with us. If you're here and you're looking to connect with Wi-Fi, it is free. Just let us know. There's passwords available at our reception desk and posted around the facility. We want to get some social media buzz going, so please do share. Take some pictures with your phone and share some of the incredible insight and people that you're meeting with online and here in the room. And of course, we have our hashtag for International Women's Week, We Mean Business, and IWW 2022. We are recording the speaking portion of today's event, so our keynote speaker and our amazing panelists. We will not be recording the mentorship sessions. We want to create trusted circles of care and create an opportunity that allows you to speak openly and freely, so those will be confidential to the rooms. We're going to share some snapshots and video footage. We're expecting a little bit of media today too, potentially. So get ready for those who are in the room. I will come up to you if we're looking to get a few quick snapshots and clips. I will be there to support you. And with that, it's now my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. Sarah Roach Lewis is a successful entrepreneur, recognized expert in gender equality, facilitator, strategist, mentor and coach, and radio host. Over the last 15 years, she has worked with some of our country's top women leaders and helped dozens and dozens of entrepreneurs scale and grow their businesses. She's also recently published her first book, She Rules, which offers leading edge business strategies and realistic and powerful actions. There's going to be so much you can take away. She's also a member of our subcommittee of the board for women founders and owners. And we are so grateful to have you with us today, Sarah. Over to you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Sonia. I just want to confirm that you can hear me.
Oh, perfectly right. Crystal clear.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for inviting me to be here today. A few weeks ago, a client of mine joined our call, and she was coming in hot. I'm not even sure if she said hello. She launched into, I don't know how much more I can take of this. These damn supply chains, and I'm trying to keep my father away from getting COVID because he's sick already, and angsty teenagers. And then this morning, my husband casually asks as he's grabbing the lunch that I packed for him on the way out the door, have you given any thought to what we're going to do with the kids over March break? Are you kidding me? I am exhausted. And that's before I even start thinking about my customers or my clients. Feel familiar? I don't need to share any statistics with you to illustrate how hard this last couple of years has been for women and business owners in particular. I know you're tough because you're here. You're still standing. And after the 2 years we've had, that is a sign that you are a serious badass. But I also know that you're a tired badass. You've been pushing through because you refuse to quit. Why? Because you're a leader. And you're the one that everyone relies on, whether it's in your family, your circle of friends, or in your business. And also, because what other choice do you have? You've got bills to pay, mouths to feed, customers to serve. So why is it that we often spend so much time worrying, feeling guilty for the time that we spend away from our kids, for the time that we spend working in our business, for the extra unpaid time that we put into client projects? We worry about phoning it in and taking the easy path. So much time spent in our heads, examining and re-examining decisions, beating ourselves up. But what if you could get rid of that feeling that no matter what you do, it isn't enough? What if you could shed that guilt once and for all? I'm here to tell you that you can. And the path to discovery means that we need to zoom way out for a minute. Did you know that the number of women-owned businesses in this country has quadrupled in the last 40 years? Women have embraced entrepreneurship, and that is amazing. And yet, as a business coach, I talk to women all the time who don't always feel comfortable in their role as a business owner or entrepreneur, even though it's their business. I spent a lot of time thinking about why that was the case when I was writing my book. How do women succeed in a world where the rules of business were written by men, inspired by military strategy, and most often supported by a woman at home taking care of everything else? The answer is simple. We change the rules. And how do we change the rules? Well, the first thing we need to do is take a look at the rules that govern business now, whether we've known we've been following them or not. Make no mistake, women have been running businesses since the beginning of time, but business has generally been a boys' game. The Art of War by Sun Tzu, written somewhere around the 5th century, is widely regarded as the Bible of business strategy. We hear that military language in our business language, strategy and tactics, for example. And of course, it's more than just language. Military strategy pits people against each other, competition. It's about winning and losing, command and control. Frankly, military-inspired business strategy doesn't serve anyone anymore, and it doesn't need to be the foundation on which we grow our businesses. So, as an alternative for my book, She Rules, What You Didn't Know Is Holding You Back in Business, I created a feminist business strategy, and I'm excited to share some of it with you today. So for me, feminism is a movement to end all sexism and all oppression, establish political, social, and economic equity, and create a world in which all people flourish. Feminist business strategy helps you have a greater understanding of how being a woman impacts your experience in business and how you can use that to your benefit to feel more confident, be in control, and make more money. So, what gives me the authority to develop a feminist business strategy? Well, one of the core tenets of feminist business strategy is you do you. And I wanted to change the rules of business because it is important to me that more women are achieving success in business. Before I started my business, I spent almost a decade working for a feminist organization. I had the pleasure of working with thousands of women on dozens of projects. I led community research projects, consulted with government on issues of public policy, and developed and delivered programs based on the needs of women in our community. I ran women's circles in our local detention center and organized national conferences for women leaders. Much of my time, though, was spent working with women in traditionally male occupations, trades and technology, fishing and agriculture, business and politics. Through this work, I know that gender equality can solve all of the world's problems. I also know that as women, there is more that unites us than divides us. We are resourceful. We feel deeply. We are doing the very best that we can in the moment we are in. We want better for ourselves, for children, and our world. We struggle with confidence to varying degrees in varying situations. I also know that every woman, regardless of their stature, their social media content, or their socioeconomic status, has a story or 10 that will break your heart. I also know that we are resilient beyond measure and deserve far more respect than we often get. I started my business with a deep understanding of women's experience and how unequal systems and structures are designed to keep us underworking. I wish that was the case, overworking and under-earning. I also started my business at a low point in my life. I live with a chronic illness that causes hearing loss, dizzy spells, and general misery when it's active. The very month I started my business, I had a dizzy spell while I was driving and ended up in the ditch. From the outside looking in, it wasn't that serious. I wasn't hurt, nor was the car. But sometimes the universe whispers. And if you don't listen, it roars. And that little accident on a country road was my roar. As a result, I ended up surrendering. I surrendered to the illness that I hated so much and to my body that betrayed me all the time. I live with chronic illness, but I also live with wild ambition and big dreams, like gender equity. And I also knew that if I was going to be successful after having given up the safety net of paid employment at 45 years old, then I needed to make the best out of those 3 or 4 days a week that I could get out of bed. I started with the basics. I changed my diet, had wobbly 5-minute walks around the backyard, and found a mindfulness practice. I love to tell you that that was it. I never looked back. But of course, that's not the case. It's also true, though, that I created a thriving coaching practice, achieved financial goals I really didn't even imagine were possible, wrote a book, and lost about 70 pounds along the way. So how did I make such profound changes in my life? I learned to play hurt. Let me explain. As a good Canadian family, my youngest was obsessed with hockey. And one day he was telling me about Sidney Crosby's latest injury and all the things that he was doing to get better. And that even though he was injured, he was still playing. I realized that many pro hockey players know how to play hurt and still be successful. They treat themselves with care, especially if they're not at their best. When they're feeling exhausted or injured, they take appropriate measures. They rest without apology. And while certainly not always the case, generally pro athletes know that they need to take care of themselves because they are their greatest asset. They know their lane and they stick to it, and they get help with everything else. Trainers, mindset coaches, physiotherapists, the list goes on and on. Pro athletes also know how to keep going when they're not at peak performance. Playing competitive sport while injured is risky, but people do it anyway. They do it for the money, for the love of the game, for the personal satisfaction, and they do it because their living depends on it. So they take care of themselves when they're injured and when they're well. I'm not an athletic person, but I realized that in order for me to be successful, I had to learn to play to my strengths and get help for everything else. And so as the saying goes, learning to play hurt was a game changer for me. And if I, Sarah Roach Lewis, the person who thought self-care was stupid, could figure out how to integrate it into my life and experience massive changes as a result, then I wanted to share that with the world. Especially now, 2 years into the pandemic, an occupation in our nation's capital, social unrest all around us, worry on every corner, and now a war. How could we all not be playing hurt in 2022? And so, since that's the case, I'm going to focus on rule number 2 in my feminist business strategy: playing hurt like a pro. Taking care of yourself is the key action to take when you're learning to play hurt like a pro. I want you to stop for a minute and remember why you started your business. I'll wait. So I imagine it was some kind of combination of flexibility, freedom, making money, and sharing your unique talents with the world. Most people I know started businesses because they want to help and support in some way. So, who and what does your business support? Have a think again. I'll wait. I'm going to take a drink of water. I imagine that your business supports its staff, your family, your clients and customers, and your community. So here's the thing. You are a critical asset in your business and you need to be treated as such. And yet, I know that this is a challenge for many reasons. For some people, self-care has a bad rap. They see it as self-indulgent and selfish, a hobby of the privileged. For others, they know it's important, but certainly not something they have time for. And so it just ends up being one more thing on that list of things you beat yourself up about. In addition to those stories that you tell yourself, women are socialized to take care of everyone else first, because that's what good mothers, daughters, partners, and bosses do. We are taught to put our needs at the bottom of the pile. And I get it. I had to put my car in the ditch before I realized I needed to take care of myself. So instead, let's give self-care a rebrand. We've established that you are an important business asset. So let's reframe self-care as an important business practice. Business care, if you were. And you know what? Today is the right time to give it a whirl. Everything has changed anyway. There's so very little about your routines, inventory management, staffing, and life that are what they were a few years ago. So what would it hurt to throw in a little me time and see what happens? It's also not as hard as we think it is. Small changes stack and build momentum. I want to offer you up 3 simple strategies to get you started on your business care. Number 1, go outside. Finally, the weather is starting to break, both here and in Ottawa. And Ottawa is the most amazing city, and it has such fantastic parks and outdoor spaces. It is such a beautiful spot. So just take 5 minutes and go outside. It never ceases to amaze me how the most complicated issues that I cannot figure out when I am sitting at my desk or stomping around my office that are so easily solved when I go outside and get some fresh air. Nature is restorative, and it allows us to reconnect with ourselves and the world around us. Number 2, narrow your focus. When things are hard, when you're playing hurt, just narrow to what is most important and focus on that. In 2021, when I was writing my book, my dear cousin and good friend Ellen was dying of cancer. She was in her early 40s with 3 small kids and a life ahead of her. So you can imagine that was not easy. She and her family spent the summer on PEI, and Ellen wanted to stay a little longer. So I volunteered to drive her home a little bit later so her husband could get back to work and their kids to summer camp. I ended up driving Ellen home and staying with her and her family for 3 of her last 4 weeks on this earth. And boy, did my focus narrow. I went for my morning walk every day. I did my book edits. I coached my weekly group calls and spent the rest of the time present with my family through the joys and challenges of times like that. In hindsight, It is amazing to me that I was able to accomplish anything during one of the hardest times in my life. I leaned heavily on my team, but I knew that I needed to finish those damn book edits, and no one else but me could do it. I knew I needed to do my coaching calls, that no one else but me could do it. There's a whole lot of other stuff that didn't happen, but I kept the wheels on the bus by being laser focused and only doing what was absolutely necessary. It wasn't fun, but it reinforced that my rules work. So go outside, narrow your focus, and finally ensure that your good habits outweigh your bad ones. The pandemic has been hard, and I am never going to judge anyone's bad habits. We all have them. But here's the deal. In order to keep going and growing, you need to nail the basics. Eat well, exercise, particularly outside, and develop a mindfulness practice. What that looks like is going to ebb and flow as your needs change. Do you smoke a joint, have a drink, indulge in chocolate? That's entirely up to you. Think about your good habits and your not so great ones, and keep a consistent measure to make sure the good habits always outweigh the bad. So I told you I was going to give you 3 tips, but I'm going to give you a bonus one for playing hurt. Be kind and gentle with yourself, but also firm. When we're playing hurt, we have hard days. Customers are unhappy, you're short-staffed, the weight of the world's problems are feeling especially crushing, and you have PMS. That's a lot. So on those days, we need to be kind and gentle with ourselves. And what does that look like? Listen to your body. What is it saying? What do you need? Do you need to pee? Do you need some water? Do you need to go outside, call a friend, watch Netflix? That's being kind and gentle with yourself. Firm is for the next day or the next week. I follow James Clear's advice from Atomic Habits, and I have a policy not to skip 2 days in a row when it comes to my good habits. So for me, as I've said, my morning walk is important. If I'm feeling really miserable or the weather is really awful, which it has been a lot this winter, I won't go for a walk one day, but on that second day, I'm firm with myself and force/encourage myself to go outside because I know it will make me feel better in the end. So be kind and gentle and firm. And sometimes, depending on what's going on with you, it might need to be long periods of kindness with little dashes of firm here and there. Give yourself grace and remember that you are doing the best that you can. So for now, go outside, narrow your focus, let your good habits outweigh your bad, and be kind and gentle, yet firm with yourself. These are tiny habits. Start today, and you'll start seeing the wins, and that will build your momentum. This is not always linear. Sometimes you're going to feel like you're doing the playing hurt 2-step, but remember that the direction you are facing is more important than your speed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And honestly, we have learned so much from you. Sarah's been with us on our Women Founders and Owners journey since day one. In fact, she helped us to develop our strategy, and she delivered a whole workshop on playing hurt for our DMS program last year. Sarah, we're going to open up the chat to questions, but I want to know from you, what do you think is your greatest lesson learned during the pandemic, and how have you applied those lessons in your business and in your life?
Are you asking me that, Sonia?
I am asking you that.
Greatest lesson, it's this. Really, the The greatest lesson I think that I've learned during the pandemic is that we can do hard things, and that if we just put one step in front of the other, if we do pay attention to our own self-care, it doesn't mean that it makes anything easier. Things like everything is still hard. I found it gave me the ability to bounce back more quickly when I am spending that time focusing on my own self or business care.
And when you look across all the different folks that you're coaching, what type of response have you seen to the different strategies that you introduce? Because you and I have known each other for a while now, and I find the business care part quite challenging sometimes. As every woman that's here with us today, everyone is a leader in their own right. How are your clients responding, and what are some of the trips and stumbles in their journey that you think we could learn from and perhaps help to avoid some of those pitfalls in our lives?
Yeah, so I think, when I think about the self-care in particular, the business care, because it is a hard one for a lot of people. And it's especially hard, if you are like so many business owners that, I'm thinking about one client in particular, and she owns a manufacturing facility, and they sell hand pies. So really yummy, locally made little pies that you can eat. And so she has, they manufacture these, and she has a facility. And so in the early days of the pandemic, here's a woman who was really looking at expanding her business and really stepping out of the day-to-day operations to be looking at how do I grow and build. And then the pandemic hit, and she was forced really right back so deeply into operations that she was the one who was taking the hand pies to the customer's trunk and putting them in the trunk, because that was what she felt was safest for her employees, was to keep them separate. So it was a hard sell for someone like her to say, you really need to be focusing on your self-care. But what we were able to identify is that it comes in all kinds of different ways. And one of the things that she discovered is so many of her customers have dogs. And so she got such great joy in seeing these dogs as she was delivering, the hand pies to the trunks of the people who came to the shop. So I think, part of it is looking in unexpected places for the things that you need in order to keep on going and feel good.
Excellent. I'm going to pose one last question, and we'll see if there's any here in the room or on Hopin. One of the things we hear about frequently here at Invest Ottawa is the ability to build confidence, that it really is a struggle. Imposter syndrome, I don't know a single woman who hasn't experienced that. How do you counsel on really building confidence and overcoming some of those very typical stumbling blocks that we all encounter every day in our daily lives?
Oh, Sonia, I could talk about this for days. So, a couple of things I think are, it's so common. Everyone talks about it. It doesn't matter your age or stage. It ebbs and flows. But one of the things that I find frustrating about imposter syndrome is that people keep telling us that we have no confidence, right? It's one of those things that we keep talking about over and over again. And the reality is, it's not that women have a lack of confidence. It's that we often are having a crisis of confidence. So I think one of the things that is important to me to do is to reframe and use a slightly easier language. Like, there's all kinds of things we can, have better. We can grow our knowledge. We can trust in other people. Like when we're not trusting in ourselves and we can't see what other people can see, we can trust what they see. And I really do encourage people to be thinking about what are the ways that I can think about the areas where I have confidence over here. How do I sort of transfer that over here? And I also encourage people to just reject it as a narrative, because the reality is the patriarchy is sneaky, and it often gets us to do the work for us. And the more time that we spend talking about and worrying about our lack of confidence is also the more time that we continue to do the unpaid work and labor that holds up the world.
Thank you so, so much. And you know, one of the things that I find really powerful that builds on that is the connections that you make through events like this, through Women Supporting Women, which was really at the heart of this entire event. So we hope that everyone here, whether you're a mentor or participant, will take the time to get to know some of the folks who surround you. You give and you receive. And I really do think it's an amazing two-way exchange that helps to build that further. Sarah, thank you so, so much for being such a champion, for being with us from, day dot in our journey. We're thrilled to have you as a member of our subcommittee and so grateful to have you with us today. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Sonia.
It is now my great pleasure to introduce someone I met at the end of International Women's Week 2020. I got a call from an amazing woman who said, "You need to know about my business, and it's International Women's Week, and you need to be making some investments. So will you take my call?" And I did. And Stacy Martin got on with me, and she is an absolutely brilliant fashion designer. She's an incredible business mind, business leader. She's a great human being, and she is the moderator for our next panel. So please join me in welcoming my friend Stacy to the stage.
Hello, thank you so much, Sonia. That's so great. Hi, everybody who's in the room, and for those of you who are virtually watching, that's so great. I'm going to sit down right over here. I'm Stacy Martin. I started my career as a Broadway dancer and performing artist. I've never worked a 9-to-5 job. I've been self-employed my entire career. Going through this pandemic as a business owner has been one of the most challenging things I've ever done in my life. So for everybody who's in this room, for everybody who's watching online, I want to say first and foremost, congratulations for making it through, and actually give yourself a round of applause because it has been crazy. It's crazy. I've never had to experience such thing as to run a business through a pandemic. I've been running a business, like I said, my entire life, and having to do it like this has been the most challenging thing. So at the beginning of 2020, I was in St. Kitts and Nevis. In March, I just traveled back. I was ready to change my company from what the name was, Kenya, and to change my company to Stacy Martin Lifestyles, ready to rebrand. And I knew that the pandemic was coming, but I thought it was just going to be 3 weeks. It's not going to be that long. It's going to change, right? It didn't change. 2 years later, we're still in this. During the pandemic, I did a capital raise. I was able to raise $250,000 for my company. I was able to pivot the company from being completely in person, from doing fashion shows and trade shows and that sort of thing, to having a complete digital marketing strategy, to having building women's confidence and building my confidence has been the most empowering and difficult thing that I've had to do. So I just know that I want to congratulate myself as well as congratulate you guys for continuing to forge forward in this very, very complicated times, and to just understand that you take the time out to say to yourself how good you've done to make it here. People often look at me and say, "Wow, Stacy, like, how have you done it? You just seem so resilient and so happy all the time." I am telling you, it has not always been that way. It is challenging, it is difficult, and there's days when I don't see the progress or the success. But if I actually just take a minute to stop and to see how far I've come, and to see that through this crazy pandemic of changes and lockdowns and convoys and truckers and all sorts of things, that have been able to keep going, I say congratulations. So I would like to bring up the other panelists who are up here, going to come up, introduce themselves so we can hear their stories as well. Amazing. Hello, ladies. How are you? Amazing, amazing. So we wanted to make this as comfortable and as effortless as possible, really having a conversation about what it's been like about being a women business owner during this pandemic. So I want to first start by having each one of you introduce yourselves. You're going to start at the end. I'm going to come all the way down the way here. Introduce yourself, introduce your business. Tell us about your journey through this pandemic.
I guess I'll be starting. I'm at the
That's
end.
right.
Can you guys hear me well?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Awesome. By the way, I love your voice. It's so soothing.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm Aki. I'm known as Financially Savvy Girl as my handle on Instagram. And I am a lawyer by trade, a litigator. And I have my business, which is Financially Savvy Girl, where it's all about women economic empowerment. I do believe that women, we have an edge when it comes to investments, and we need to know what it is, and we need to embrace it, and we need to be empowered in our investment strategy. So it's all about women learning how to create and build generational wealth. I'm also a mom of 2 little ones. I have a 5-year-old, and my husband and I, we also have our 10-month-old baby at home. So thank you.
Amazing.
And I'm the co-founder of Women Investors Network in Canada. So it's all about empowering women to really invest in real estate. My husband and I, we grow a very good portfolio of real estate investing, focusing more on multifamily units. And I help other women through our network, the Women Investors Network in Canada, really own up their sleeves in terms of real estate investment and scaling up their portfolio. So
Great. And
in a
how has the
nutshell.
change been, like navigating your whole business through the pandemic?
Change, the pandemic has certainly been super hard. And I think really the impact, you see the financial impact of the pandemic. It's been a blessing to some extent for certain aspects. If you are a real estate investor, it has been a blessing in that sense. You've seen your portfolio grow. However, for everyday, mom, dad trying to buy groceries and all that, trying to make sure that your budget actually makes sense, it's been trying, right? And I think the way to navigate, the way that I've personally navigated through the pandemic is really through an inner work, deeper work, which looks exactly what she was saying about self-care, really putting that self-care to the forefront. And one of the group coaching that I started was Fit and Wealthy. And a lot of people always reach out to me wanting to know about wealth, building wealth. But what I realized through the pandemic is your health is a major part of your wealth journey. And if we don't take care of that, you're not going to be here to enjoy the wealth that you're building. So it's about having a very strong morning routine. I have my 5 a.m. morning routine where it's all about me, pouring into me before the world, including husband and children, start requesting of me, right? So it involves journaling, it involves gratitude journaling, it involves reading, meditation, prayer, yoga, whatever you need to do, and exercising. So for a good hour and a half in the morning before I enjoy seeing the sunrise, and I have my routine before I hear mommy or anything. And it just allows me to pour into myself before I have to pour out to the world. And it's been life-changing. And a lot of women now, as part of the coaching, have joined me. So there's like a bunch of women working out on Zoom, everybody doing their own thing, but we're there supporting each other through this, intentional self-care throughout the pandemic.
Amazing. It really, really is that. And moving your body is incredible. I commend you for doing that every day. I'm going to say honestly that I try to do that every day. I don't do it every day. It's a struggle to actually commit to doing it every day, to have that as an actual routine that you do all the time is very, very commendable, and it's amazing.
It's a habit, right? And it gets cultivated. Habits get cultivated. And the more you do it, the more you feel good, the more you see the result in terms of your mental health, your self-care, the more you want to do it. So.
Amazing. All right, next up, if you can tell us a little bit about who you are, introduce yourself, your name and your business and your journey during this COVID pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a very similar morning routine, minus the exercise. I have not unlocked that achievement yet of the consistent exercise every day, but I totally agree with you. Getting up early before the rest of the world needs your attention and just focusing on your own attention and needs really is game changing. So my name is Sheena Brady. I'm the founder of Tease and Founders Fund, and I work in merchant success at Shopify as a lead. And that sounds like a lot of titles, so I'll kind of break down kind of how we got where we are today. So I started Tease. We create wellness-centric tea blends that are really inspired to support your everyday wellness rituals. So tea and botanical infused products essentially to support those goals. And I started this as a very modest, creative side hustle, very scrappy, out of my condo in Toronto back in late 2013. And obviously, you know, it's not enough to just dive into full-time entrepreneurship and to be able to pay the bills right away. So I needed a job that would be flexible and supportive of me building this little teeny tiny business at the time. And so enter Shopify. I started in customer support back in 2015. And so even though I thought that was going to be a very temporary journey to do both at the same time, what I didn't expect is kind of showing up with this sense of purpose every day that while being at Shopify, I was helping our merchants become a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, a little bit more successful every day. And it was only fueling me and motivating me to want to continue to do the same in my business. And so I'm really, proud to be here today to share that both Tease and my career in Shopify have grown in parallel over the last 8 years, nearly 8 years anyway. And as far as Tease goes, we've been rooted in social impact long before I frankly even knew what that word meant. It was always important for me to show up with purpose with my business and not just focus on, top line revenue or profit. And so since our early days, we've always been investing in women. Different ways have included volunteering at different aligned organizations, or sometimes financially contributing, or product gifting. Whatever we could do at the time, we would try our best to support. It has since evolved substantially since then. And in 2019, we got a lot more intentional about at Tease what that impact was. And this came from my own internal, deeply rooted desire to want to help other early stage founders in their entrepreneurial journey. And so we started Founders Fund in 2019, which is basically our investment in women founders across Canada. And so at Founders Fund, we provide mentorship, education, and resources to the next generation of budding women entrepreneurs. And I'm proud to share that since 2019, we've raised and distributed over $150,000 in microgrant funding support, in addition to mentorship and programming across the country for over 500 women and diverse founders. And so that's kind of bringing all three job titles together. How the pandemic has impacted my business. I mean, I thought about this question ahead of time, and really I wanted to ask, how did it not impact my business? Like from staffing challenges, massive supply chain disruption, massive inflation of costs, crippling debt, crippling interest rates, like you name it, like I can check all the boxes in all the ways that my business has been impacted by the pandemic. That being said, when you said it was also like a blessing in some ways, I will say that we have been more hyper-focused than ever at Tease, despite having customers in over 30 countries and finally growing into a 7-figure company. We tried too hard over the years to be everything for everyone. Like if you wanted us in your coffee shop, no problem. You wanted us in your retail store, no problem. You wanted us in your spa, your hotel, Amazon, like wherever you were, we were going to give you Tease. And, we had way more sales channels than employees, right? And many sales channels within that. So we got a lot more intentional about really focusing on what's actually important to us when we talk about distribution. And then second to that, what the pandemic taught us is that more than ever, the world really wants more accessible wellness options without compromising convenience, sustainability, or impact. So we doubled down on this. We did a huge relaunch of our brand in the middle of a supply chain crisis in the pandemic, which is wild thinking back on it. But we developed the world's first fully biodegradable and refillable tea collection to support your everyday wellness rituals, which is something we're incredibly proud of. And further to that, taking this idea that we're so much more than just a tea company. How can we infuse tea and botanical products into your other everyday wellness rituals, from, bath soaks to scrubs and face masks, and really infuse the goods of Teas through these everyday, ritual products. And so we've since expanded our product line as well. So has not been without its challenges, but it's also really put us in a position to really optimize and broaden what we do well.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And it's so important to know that being intentional is everything. I feel that same thing with me with my business. I was trying to do everything all the time. I'd be running all around to do trade shows, fashion shows. Every time I'd be like, I can be there. Yes, I can do that. Yes, 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 yes. And I feel that is a thing for women that we often do so much. And we really just have to be kind of laser focused and intentional with what we actually want to deliver. And then we'll really see the business blossom because we actually have time to focus on one thing and not do all the things at the same time. It's so good. So thank you so much. Going next. Last but not least, and not last but not least, we have a couple on our digital as well, but we're going to go here and tell us your name and your business and about your journey during the pandemic.
Sounds good. My name is Lissa Appiah. I'm the founder of WeApply Canada, and I provide career services to mid to executive level professionals, mostly introverts, and my goal is to help them increase their visibility and marketability while staying true to themselves. And I really started the business because of my own challenges as a woman and also as an introvert, navigating my career in the public service. And I saw so many people that had so much potential, but were staying stuck in their careers. And so that's why I decided to start my business. I guess mine is a little different because I'm a newer entrepreneur, and I started my business during the pandemic. So it was a plan that I had in mind for a couple of years, but there was a bit of fear there. I never really wanted to start it because I was a bit hesitant to take the move. But eventually I did start it right in June 2020. That's when I started off. And initially I had this vision of, a nice office downtown, and this is how it's going to look, and people will be walking in and I'll be coaching them, all these ideas in my head. And then I realized, okay, it's been 3-4 months and we're still at home. Okay, so I have to kind of change the plan now. So I've been coaching online for the last 2 years and facilitating different workshops online as well. And the big thing for me has been adaptability, being able to look at the situation, realize the situation that we're in. And for me, the change in my business was when I started to increase my visibility online. And LinkedIn being the platform that has helped me a lot, and that's helped a lot of my clients as well in their career journey. But really, it's helped me expand my vision. Initially I was thinking I would just support local clients, but now I'm realizing like my business is essentially global. A lot of my clients are outside of Canada, mostly in the US, a lot of clients in the South. So it's really helped me change the vision, be adaptable, being able to realize that there's so much more. And at the same time, balancing a lot of the things that have been said. I am a mom as well. I have a 3-year-old. So that has been quite a journey, navigating the process of being a mom, a wife, as well as a business owner, and still being in the public service. So it's been a lot of things, but I'm grateful for the learning opportunity and where I am now.
Congratulations on starting your business during the pandemic. Really, honestly, so good. And thank you for sharing. So we're going to move on digitally now. We have Deborah here. You're going to tell us a little bit about who you are and what your business journey has been during the pandemic.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you so much again. Invest Ottawa is always on time to support business owners. So I am Deborah Ntawigirira. I am the CEO of IZERE Coffee. It's a company that brings in specialty coffee from Burundi. That's a country that's in East Africa. And we wanted the person that was behind it it's not only me, it is my mom as well. And when I got in Canada, I always wanted to create a link between Burundi, the country of origin, and Canada. And when I was in a process of thinking about which product I should bring in or which service that would be perfect to link both countries, thankfully, my mom was already in a business in Burundi, and we picked coffee, which is great because Burundi has one of the greatest coffee, I would say. The pandemic and everything else that's going on has been very, very hard on me. However, I have to be very thankful for all the networking, the people, the company, the small businesses I work with here in Ottawa. They've been very supportive. it's very interesting and very important to actually look at the mental health aspect of things, because we're always, as you all said, women are always there for everyone, and we're a bit less selfish, and I think that's one of the challenge I had, to just be a bit more selfish, think about myself, think about the healthcare. Yes, that's what I would say.
Okay, thank you so much. So I know when I listen to everybody and I hear us all talking about how it's been hard, it has been really hard. And we know that for everybody, it's been hard in every walk of life. I feel that through it all, though, I did have some really impactful lessons. And for me, the truest lesson has been to be authentic to myself. I feel having time for myself and to really understand myself. I think that, you know, we talk about imposter syndrome and all these other things, but as a business owner, you're trying to be something else. And at times when, especially when I was doing the capital raise and I was pitching, I was kind of pitching like a man. Like I was pitching how I would see a pitch deck and how a pitch would be run, how he would do it. He being the he we can't see, but you know what I mean. And so I now know that being authentic to who I am, my sincerity, my empathy, my passion, my drive, my, you know, talkative nature, my excitability, but my organization and the different things that I have are actually my assets. So I wanted to kind of go with down the line again and just see, like, what would you say in a short form is your lesson that you've learned most from this entire pandemic?
Wow, I really took like the best seat in this.
You did. You're first. We'll go the other way next time.
No, I'm just joking. I think lesson learned. Oh man, that's a really good question. There are so many. I would say this pandemic, as awful as it has really provided us with room and space to analyze and reflect on what our priorities are.
Right.
And it's almost like we've been reduced to bare minimum of, you know, figuring out what your pillars are, what matters most to you. And also being given a chance and an opportunity to prioritize those pillars, you know, spending time. Like we now know what it feels like to be robbed of the opportunity to spend time with those that we love the most, because we've experienced 100%. It. We now know what it feels like to be confined, you know, in a home and feel like you cannot leave because we've experienced it, right? So, and I think in all these moments, as frustrating as it was, it also just gave us space. It gave me anyways, space to stop, reflect, and realize that this fast-paced life that we are, especially women, driven women, you know, I'm sure that's who we are in this room, this fast-paced life that we have been so accustomed to have, and sort of to piggyback on what you said, sort of the image of what we think the idea of success should look like. Well, this should look like this. I'm a successful woman, so I have to go and keep up with the Jonas in this world, which are maybe our male counterparts who are also successful, and you have to show up and not, you know, look like you are quote unquote the weaker vessel in this race of success. I think for me, it has made me realize, you know what, silence all those noises, including the ones that you might have internalized throughout your career.
The loudest ones.
Right?
100%.
Yeah. And really like deconstruct and rebuild from a healthier place, and from a place that is a lot more authentic to my goals, to the things that matters to me. And that's really what I've been doing. I've really been silencing the noise, including media or anything else, and really rebuilding from a place that's a lot more authentic. And it's been so liberating.
Amazing. And I feel that sometimes, or most of the time, the biggest noise is within us.
Oh.
I feel like I'm my hardest critic.
Yeah.
I feel like I have the most noise in my own head. And if you can just silence that and be in stillness, it's incredible.
And you really can only silence it if you shift your mindset.
100%.
The mind is everything. So if you're not feeding your mind with those things that will allow you to successfully silence it, you're constantly going to live in this, circle of, oh no, I doubt, oh no, I believe in myself. Oh no, you gotta shift that mindset. You gotta feed your mind with things that are actually benefiting for you. So read on things that, like things that actually align with where you want to go. You need to be more intentional in that journey, I would say.
Of course. Do you have anything to add, either of the two of you?
I mean, that was so well said. I think the only thing I would add to that is this, that cliche or saying it takes a village. I think the pandemic really taught us more than ever about the value of really leaning into that village, especially for many in the pandemic. That village has never felt so smaller, and not having as much accessibility to resources and support. And if you are, that proud woman who, is like the mom and the wife and the business leader and the founder, and you're just running around day to day trying to live up to all of those different titles, it's exhausting. And I think the pandemic only amplified that exhaustion for a lot of us. And so that was a big lesson for me, saying, like, wait a minute, I don't have to live up to what I think is all of these different titles on a pedestal. Let me rewind. Who is my village? Who can I lean on? Who can I delegate? Who can I have an honest conversation with my husband and say, you know what, the way we're handling like daycare pickup and drop off is just not working for me right now while trying to run a business. Can we revisit how we do this? I need a little extra support here. With my team at Tees, for years, I always like to say I was, playing whack-a-mole, my eyes on a million different problems at any given time. But why should my eyes be on all of these different problems? I hire very intelligent, smart people to help run the business. I need to just trust them to do their job. I don't need to be overseeing every little thing. I need to get out of their way. And so that was a big one for me operationally. Amanda's here today, actually, our COO at T. She's amazing. So I just want to give her a huge shout out. But, for example, we hired a 3PL over the summer, which is basically a warehouse that ships our orders now, right? So we shut down our warehouse again because of pandemic problems, outsourced to a warehouse. And every day I would be, looking at what was going on with inventory and fulfillment and asking a million questions. And then Amanda would be asking, them a million questions and trying to stay on top of things. And we're like, why are we both doing this? Like, one of us can just own this domain. I was like, girl, yeah, you go, you do it. I'll just tap out. And, it's easier said than done, obviously, when I'm a bit of a control freak. But for me, what that looked like in actual practice is, we have a Slack channel for these conversations. I just don't go in that channel unless I'm tagged in it. And I just stay out. Because the second I actually start observing, I'll go down a spiral and think that I just need to jump in when I don't. So those have been hugely helpful lessons, again, leaning on my metaphorical village in everyday life scenarios.
100%. I don't even see it as being a control freak. I think that as women, we are just really good at doing a lot of things at a lot of times. And I think that is what we do. And that's kind of our superpower, but it's also something that can be detrimental to us. And we have to learn to delegate. I, for one, am huge at the same thing. I'm like, I'll do it all. I can do all of it with a smile on my face. But then it was in the pandemic, I learned to delegate because I had to. Because now my son's home for a year. He's 8 years old. He's trying to, I threw him into French school. I'm not French. I had to kind of figure out the language, have that going on. My husband's working full time. It was just madness. So delegation was savior. And that village is
definitely
everything.
I had a quick question for you, though, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah.
So you brought up when you were pitching, you felt at first you had to present the way a man would when they're pitching, right? And then you realized that through your authenticity was your power and showing up as who you are. My question for you is, was the world ready for you to show up as you authentically?
No,
and did that help for you?
Of course not.
Okay, I'm just curious. I was very curious. How did the world respond to that?
100%. The world was not ready for me. They still aren't. I just think, I went on there and I remember I had the whole pitch deck ready. Everything was together. I had put my pitch together, how I would memorize it, because that's the way I should memorize it. And when I started pitching, I felt like people weren't listening to me. I was pitching and they'd be like, oh, your hair, or your skin, or your this, or you speak well. And I'm like, are you listening to what I'm saying? No one's listening to what I'm saying. And then I realized when I started to make the pitch a bit more conversational, it was still memorized-ish, but it was more conversational. I was able to tell them what I was actually trying to get across.
Right.
And for me, it was really about, women in business, for Black women in business, that, getting capital is 0.2% chance for Black women. And when I said it in a way that's authentic, saying that 0.2% of women who are Black have ever in life been funded by venture capital. And when there's less than 100 women who have received $1 million of capital who are Black, 100 guys probably got it last week. When I said it in a way that people understood what I was saying, and that I've been doing this business, I have proof of what I've been doing. I have proof of sales, proof of concept. They understood me, but it took a while. And I think that for any woman doing what we're doing, we do look different. Whether Black, whether white, whether what ethnicity you are, we look different. And they're gonna judge whether you're wearing high heels, you got makeup on, you have whatever the case is, it's just not what we've been seeing as the norm. So it takes some time, but it's about continuing to go through it. And I know for me doing the capital raise, it was 3 months and I did it publicly. And most of the time when you do capital raise, you just do it kind of in your corner on your own, no one's watching. I went public. So it was February to May, and it was, hi guys, I'm live. I need to raise capital for my company. And it was daunting. It was one of the most vulnerable moments, but we were able to be successful, 17% over asking, and I'm thrilled to have that happen. Thank you. But it really was staying true to who I am, knowing that I'm different, and knowing that your difference is actually your value. That is what people want to see. They want to see you be different. But at first, they want you to be the same.
Yeah, fair enough. No, that makes sense. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, for sure.
I like what you said. They want you to be different, but at first they want you to be the same, because that's true.
Well, this is the thing, because
Right?
business owners, our businesses are only successful because we're different. If my business was exactly like any of yours, they wouldn't be successful. The whole point is that you've taken a niche that hasn't been done, and you found something in the market that needed to be investigated and had a business run, and that's why it works. If we were all the same, it wouldn't work. But when you first step out, it's like turbulent. People are like, what is she talking about? What is she doing? Fashion? What? Black woman? What? No, they don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And once they start to understand and be like, wow, okay, eco-conscious clothing that looks good, that's comfortable. You have a niche for this woman, for women who are plus 30, who can look amazing at the same time. For a Black woman who wants to raise capital, who wants to run a business, who's done it with proof of concept, then it starts to make sense.
Yeah. And sorry, if I could just
go
add
ahead.
to
No, we
that.
like this.
You said, obviously my mummy brain is kicking in.
That's okay. We've all got it.
Recalibrate. Okay, so you said, if we all had the same business, it wouldn't work. And I think for anyone who's watching this, who may have a business idea that's similar to any of ours, the reality is, even if you were to start that business, it will be different, because you're not her. You're not her. You're not her. And you're not me. You will bring your own authenticity to that business. And that is what makes it different, right? Oftentimes I see this when coaching women in business. You realize one of those voices is but this has already been done. This girl is doing this and that girl is doing this, but she's not you. So find out in this, where is your voice in it, and go for it. Because however, I could probably never pull that fashion trend like you just did, because that's your niche, your fashion. But if somebody else is a fashion person, they could wear completely different.
100%.
The same outfit, the same type of thing. So definitely going after it, regardless if you feel as a woman, oh, this is a saturated area. There's no such thing as saturated if your voice
and you
is
do it
not in
differently.
Yeah.
And I think that's my love-hate relationship with social media, because I see social media and I'm like, it's so good. We need it. But but why does everybody do the same things the same? It's
Yeah.
because they see that person they're trying to emulate to do it exactly
So
the way
true.
they did it. And I'm like, you need to do your thing, but do it the way you would do it. Coming back to being your authentic self. It's you. This is about you. If we all had coaching businesses, we can all be coaching the exact same thing. But the way I coach it will resonate with her, and you will resonate with her, and she'll resonate with somebody else. We'll all resonate with somebody different based on who we are.
Exactly.
You can hear the same message over and over again, but it's who's delivering it is the reason why it was impactful to you. You know, so that's just what it is. So anyway, going back to, do you have anything? I'm going to talk and ramble. Go ahead.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Thanks.
I can completely resonate with everything that's been said. For me, I hit a low, I will say, during the pandemic, because I was just starting off, extremely ambitious. I thought I was, going to change the world, and I had all these ideas in my head. A year into the pandemic, I realized I needed a break. But, you were talking about social media, and you hear all these things, people saying, well, all these big companies, they don't take breaks. They don't, they have teams and they're running things. So you can do it. And that constant message, exactly. It kept going until I told myself, okay, I have to slow down. And so I did take a break, and I really needed it. And I didn't realize how much I needed it, but it made the world of a difference, because when I came back to it, I realized that I had to focus on a specific area. As we've all been saying, I was trying to serve too many people. I was trying to do too many things. And when I realized that, I was able to really niche down, as they say, and focus on one specific area. And that's when the business really took off. It was when I finally silenced the noise, stopped following the trends, and just focused on what I knew I could do, what I knew I had in my heart, but that, I was a bit hesitant, because obviously, okay, I'm starting a business, I'm going to serve introverts. It's like, oh, okay, really? Like, that's the whole business. But once I put it out there, the way people responded was incredible. I could have never imagined that kind of response. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. And Deborah, do you have anything to add to this conversation?
Yes, I'm going to add, and I love this conversation. Truly, again, it's here at the right time. I think for all of us. What I would add is what really helps me is really having that moment to listen to the right voice, take the time to read the right books, pray, and take a day at a time, and focus on the objective, and understand that if it's not done the way you planned, or the way you vision it, it's not because we don't have to always beat ourselves up. And I think it's the word has always been challenging for women, but I see an awakening that's very noticeable. So thank you so much.
Of course. And I think that we're all human. And I think that's the whole thing. When we're doing this as business owners, we're almost superhuman. And we try to act like we're superhuman at times. And it's just nice to know that we are human. I know for me, when I have a really, really difficult time, I dance. I turn on music and I just dance. Like, that is my release and my way of just letting everything go and being kind of in my element, where I'm free and I allow the flow to go. So I'd love to hear just a little bit about what you guys do for your mental health, for your way to just like let go of all the baggage and drama and stresses that business can carry.
I can take the pressure off you to go
Yeah,
first this time.
awesome.
If you
Go
want.
ahead.
Well, because it actually adds on to what Deborah was saying about solving problems, and what I think what a lot of us learned throughout the pandemic too is this idea of really focusing on what problems you actually have control over versus don't. And I think the pandemic really gave us a huge crash course in that. Because I would go down this like rabbit hole of spiraling anxiety because of, like I said earlier, supply chain issues and the debt that I was getting my business in, and then the supply chain like delays and the rising costs. And I can't control literally any of those things. So the fact that I gave so much energy to these circumstances I truly have zero control over, that wasn't fair to me. certainly not fair to like my team, and just, you know, really not great for my mental health. And so it's taken me a lot longer than I want to admit to, and I'm still a work in progress, but really identifying, okay, what do I actually have control over? How can I walk into this situation or this challenge and treat it exactly like that? Just a situation, just a challenge, handle it. I don't need to bring my emotion into it. I don't need to bring my energy into it. I need to bring my confidence, my experience, and my problem solving ideas to it. And that's it. And it's easier said than done. But even just like taking a moment to pause and think that through before jumping into a challenge has been so much better for my mental health and frankly my sleep at night. So
For sure. And I think it's just understanding that that problem was a problem. You're not a problem. You know what I mean? Like, it's really like, that was a thing that happened. I identify it. I can get over it, and that's it. But what do you do to, like, what's your actual thing that you do to relax?
Yeah. And my therapist said, you know, challenge yourself. Is this going to matter in a year from now, the situation? And if it's not going to matter in a year from now, be very mindful about how much energy that you put into it. And like, that is just like very simple but actionable, you know, insights that I try to bring into our challenges now at Tees.
So I'll take it on. There are two things that I had to ask myself during that time when I was taking a break. The first one was, you know, what do I want my perfect day to look like? And then what do I like doing? Because I realized I didn't know what I actually liked doing. I was so busy, you know, working one thing after another that I really had no idea. So I created my perfect day and, you know, I outlined it, and it's something that I have there. I try my best to follow it, but I know that life happens. So if ever I'm not able to wake up at a certain time, or if ever I can't make the workout in the evening or whatever, I don't beat myself up about it, but I know that that's kind of what I'm striving towards. So that's one exercise that really helped me. And then what I like doing, it took a while, but for me, really, it's just taking a walk. And I even this last winter, I walked in the winter. Like, it was
Wow.
it was a
Better
first
than me.
for me. So just taking a walk and listening to my music while I'm taking the walk and coming home and having a good cup of tea. So that's really what I enjoy doing, and just having a quiet moment.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I think we're finished now. We're still going to go. We're going to still have 5 minutes. Okay. I'm going to ask you guys just a question that I've made up on my own. So I just wanted to see, like, if there was one word that you had to kind of describe this entire pandemic, including you, Deborah, one word that describes what you went through. Like, for me, I feel like if I had to think of one word, it's courage. It's courage to keep going when I felt that it was difficult. It's courage to not be afraid to fail. It was courageous for me to be able to, you know, move towards something that's unknown, or to pivot my business when I had to. For me, courage was a really big thing. And I just wanted to know if you guys had one word that you can share with the audience that might be something that they can learn from or take away from listening to us today.
I don't know.
It's a hard
I'll
one,
go.
I know.
For me, what I've realized is, I think my word is and continues to be consistency.
Yes.
Because the reality of the matter is, whatever wind can blow, whatever new variant can come, whatever pandemic, whether financial or what, can come, I think being consistent in the things that you do that brings you joy, despite of whatever is despite of the circumstances around, will really help you get to your destination. So I've realized through this pandemic that my superpower, for lack of a better word, isn't my skill set, it's not my intelligence, it's not any of that. It's really just my ability to be and remain consistent in the things that matters.
And consistency is one of the most challenging thing as a business owner, to keep doing that thing especially when you don't feel like it's working or you don't see the results, and to just keep on keeping on, but consistency is what makes a business owner. So thank you so much for sharing that.
You said that so well, it spoke to me that I'm just going to copy you.
Yeah, do,
I know that
honestly.
that's like a cop out, but yeah, consistency I think is why I'm still here today with my business, and how like my team, we're still thriving, all things considered. It's still showing up to do the hard things, every single day, even though sometimes it really feels like everything's stacked against you. So yeah, thank you. I couldn't say that better.
For me, the word is boundless. I have had the opportunity to be in meetings that I've never thought I would be sitting next to a certain person, or in a Zoom call, seeing that person in the meeting. And it's just because of limitations that I may have placed on myself for quite some time. And starting the business during the pandemic has really showed me that I'm boundless and I can take space, and I deserve to be there as much as the next person. And so, yeah, boundless is really the word for me.
Thank you. And Deborah, do you have a word that you would be able to offer us?
Oh, I have more of an analogy.
Sure.
That I got a butterfly, because there's a lot of work that was behind the scene, for example, for IZERE Coffee. And it's almost like a painful growth, but really glorious. And it's just, I would say, what I would like to share for anyone that would like to start, or anyone that's in a process to start a business, to understand that a business will always evolve, and be ready to take to make the changes when needed, and yes, and evolve and grow with the business at the same time.
Thank you so much. I want to thank all of you guys for coming here and for speaking, and for everybody watching. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for continuing to do what you do. It's incredible. I think together, if we can actually be this team of incredible entrepreneurs, it's just, we're power. We have power, and that's what we are. So thank you guys.
Thank you for having us.
What an amazing panel. I have been privileged to work with every single one of these amazing leaders in different ways, some more recently than others, but there were so many takeaways, and we hope that you enjoyed and were as inspired as we were. International Women's Week is truly about inspiration and actionable insight that propels the growth and success of women leaders in every professional field, including Main Street business, and it could not be more timely than right now. We are now going to take a 10 to 15 minute break, because we did have a number of folks who generously and courageously let us know that they would not be in due to little ones who have COVID or risk of exposure. We're going to bring every mentor who's in this room into a room online on Hopin, so that we can put all of your expertise and experience to work. We will ask you to approach our side desk where our AV team is, and we will actually give every mentor in the room the number and the place and location for your new venue, and we will escort you there. So we invite everyone to get a stretch, get your favorite beverage, get a snack. We will be back to you in 15 minutes, and we look forward to opening up our first 40-minute round robin of mentorship, where you will have the opportunity to choose the virtual room of your choice and join that trusted group of fellow founders and experts. Thank you so much. Over by our AV desk has all of the information. So over the course of the next 15 minutes, please make your way over to her. We have a team of people that will be escorting folks to the different parts of our great innovation hub. Thank you.
Yeah, I think